What is up, guys? Hello, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It is Zachary Reality, and today we're going to be chatting about the House of Kardashians, which is a 3-episode docu-series on Peacock explaining the origin story of how the Kardashians have reached the level of fame, as they also broke down some of the biggest scandals in Kardashian history. I am so excited to tell you guys everything that went down if you did not watch it on Peacock, but if you did watch it and you want to hear some of my thoughts, welcome to the channel. This is the video for you. If you are new here, please be sure to give this one a thumbs up and hit subscribe down below and ring the bell so you're always notified whenever I post new videos. It is Tuesday, I'm drinking black coffee, and we are going to get into it. Okay. So, House of Kardashians, they interviewed a lot of Kardashian adjacent people for this docu-series. One of the big faces, the main people, was Caitlyn Jenner. They also had one of the executives who's worked at E! And worked on the Kardashian show. They had a friend from high school, one of Kylie Jenner's old friends, one other extremely controversial person. However, none of the Kardashians or the Jenners agreed to comment on the series or be interviewed for it or have any involvement in it. However, there were so many voice recordings of Kris Jenner and Kim Kardashian that they just pulled a bunch of clips from their old interviews to help narrate and tell the story. And then I felt like Caitlyn was truly like the standing ground because she was with the Kardashians from the beginning to the end. And the first episode really focused a lot on Kris Jenner and Kris Jenner's life. Also, Kristen. So they described Kris as someone who grew up very likable. She was a social butterfly. She always kind of knew what she wanted and how to kind of go for it. She had a lot of people around her constantly. And she always dreamed of marrying a wealthy man. That's kind of what she sought for. She lived in Los Angeles, so she knew a lot of these famous socialite couples and families and celebrity, and she just kind of knew that maybe she wanted that down the road one day. She met Robert Kardashian, who was practicing to be a lawyer, and Kris at the time was a flight attendant, and she loved being a flight attendant. She loved working hard. And when she met Robert Kardashian, they were working and they were kind of building their careers together. But once he proposed and they got engaged, he did not want Kris to work anymore. He wanted her to become a full-time mom and a housewife, and that's what she did. And they had kids. They had Kim, they had Kourtney first, then they had Kim, Khloe, and Rob. They finally got that boy. And Robert Kardashian was building his name in law while Kris was the housewife. And about 10 years into the marriage, Kris was no longer happy. She felt unfulfilled because she wasn't allowed to work, and she wanted to work and she wanted to do things for herself, but Robert wanted her to be a housewife. So she cheated on Robert with a 24-year-old soccer player, and Robert hired a private detective to find out, and he divorced her immediately. So now they're divorced, and Kris has used the opportunity to start working again. She wanted to get back into what she was doing, but she couldn't really figure out what she wanted. They had a pretty cohesive divorce. The kids were really close with both parents. They split the houses, but they always maintain a good relationship. And eventually, Kris stumbled upon Bruce. And Bruce was an Olympian. He was one of the best athletes in the entire world back in the day. And he did some motivational speaking. And Kris noticed that Bruce's talent was not being seen or used properly, so she fired his manager. And it was really hard for Bruce. Caitlyn was explaining it during the doc that the manager that he was with at the time they were so close of friends that it was really hard for Bruce to let him go. But Kris knew what she needed to do, and she got Bruce's career back on track and started booking him for motivational speaking gigs all around the world, and kind of got him back on the scene and got him back on TV and pitched him for opportunities. She made a bunch of connections. It was about Bruce walking in the door and showing his face, and then Kris was like behind everything, building his empire. And that's what she does so well, is that she is a manager. Caitlyn did not say like one bad thing about Kris in this doc. I don't really think they talk anymore, but it was truly just focused on like the business relationship of Bruce and Kris, and then the fallout of their divorce. The doc talks a lot about like how they grew in business, but also about the relationships in the family that kept everyone so engaged and interested because they are such a family with so many storylines, as we'll get into when we talk about the E! reality show. Kris just kept building Bruce's career, and he became like an OG influencer because they used to do these infomercials. So Bruce would do all these infomercials and sell these fitness stuff and sell whatever he is selling. And there used to be some rumors about whether he was gay or not. And they kind of tried to distract those rumors with Kris starting to join the spotlight. They became like a power couple where Bruce was like introducing Kris to some of the tabloids. And there was so many shots of Kris's first time getting recognized by tabloids, and when she used to walk red carpets, and she was like a young socialite when the kids were so young, and Kris was like in her 30s, I guess. Those images and those videos were so historic and interesting, and I found this doc so interesting, learning about Kris's backstory, which was the whole first episode, because we don't really talk about it as much. We talk a lot about Kim, a lot about all the sisters, but Kris Jenner is just as interesting because she truly is the origin of the Kardashians, and she truly has created the empire. She is the mom. She really is. So Bruce and Kris started to do infomercials together, and they kept growing their name, and their status kept growing in Hollywood because of Robert Kardashian, who took on the OJ Simpson trial case as he was defending OJ because there were allegations that OJ killed Nicole, who was his wife and Kris Jenner's best friend. And Kris sided with Nicole, and Robert was defending OJ. So it did create a strain in their co-parenting because they were already divorced, but they agreed to just not talk about it, and they agreed to just focus on talking about the kids. But Kris and Bruce would go to some of the trials to support Nicole and her family. So that helped build their name and their status in celebrity pop culture Hollywood. And Kim and Kourtney would often go to some of these trials, and they decided to support their dad at the time because they felt like Kris was remarried. She was building a new life with Bruce. They were becoming this couple and becoming very successful, while they felt that Robert was all alone and really had a lot of weight on him because he was defending OJ. And there's obviously so many rumors that Kris Jenner ended up sleeping with OJ to get back on him, and that's who Khloe Kardashian's real dad is. I mean, that has been a conspiracy theory for so long. I feel like it's been proven otherwise, but you guys can let me know what you think about that. I want to believe that Khloe truly is Robert's daughter, but the conspiracy theories are insane. They really are. Robert ended up dying of cancer at 59 years old. It was really tragic and devastating. Robert Kardashian's cousin was also in the docu-series on Peacock, and she was talking a lot about the Kardashian story and how they have such a big family and how their generations go back and back and back. And it was really sad for the kids when Robert passed away. It was tragic. It was one of the hardest things Kris also said that she ever had to go through. So then this is kind of where Kim comes into play. When Bruce and Kris got together, they had 2 more kids, Kendall and Kylie. And Kris also started working as a manager for Kim Kardashian and Kourtney Kardashian and all the sisters, but mainly Kim, because Kim was the one who was really pursuing fame and wanted to be famous. And she was working as a closet organizer for Paris Hilton. And Caitlyn kind of described it as Kim had to know that she was going in there as Paris's equal, and that it wasn't that she was working for Paris. It's not that she needed the job. It's that she was good at it and she had fun with it. And Kim's relationship with Ray J also helped catapult their fame because they talked all about the sex tape. So Kim had a sex tape with Ray J, and there was a lot of conspiracy whether they leaked it themselves. Caitlyn says she didn't know, she didn't ask about it, but a few of the other people in the doc alluded to the fact that Kris and Kim did leak it themselves, and that relationship catapulted her as well. But she learned everything from Paris. She learned so many things from her mom. The Kardashian empire could not have been built without Kim. There's 3 stages in the Kardashian empire. There's the Kris Jenner who started it, Kim who rose it, and then the 3rd episode was all about Kylie, who took it to a whole nother level and demographic and targeted a whole new audience, the younger audience on social media. So the Kim stage is that she was building her own socialite career, and she had her eyes set on wanting to be famous, and they pitched the show to E! Keeping Up with the Kardashians, agreed to possibly not even air it at first and give them 6 episodes. They had 1 camera. Caitlyn said in the docuseries that a reality show is successful based on storylines, and with so many sisters and so many characters, there was just so many storylines. It was about pregnancies and engagements and boyfriends and cheating. It was just the drama. People fell in love with like the insight of their lives. And they talked a lot about the wedding to Kris Humphries, the 72-day marriage between Kim and Kris. And this wedding truly like was a production. And it was the first time that cameras and the audience and the world were let in on a celebrity wedding. Because usually for celebrity weddings, you release images and pictures, but this was just so in depth that it was just like Kim really bared her soul for her family, and Kris and Kylie, everyone. But Kim, like we're talking about Kim right now, she really bared her soul to her family and to the show and to her fans to create this image and influence for herself and this celebrity culture for herself. It's about giving. These reality stars and these influencers online, like the way to get people to follow you is to just like give them so much access to your life. And as time went on, Kim, stopped giving access in certain ways. When she fell in love with Kanye after her and Kris divorced, she knew that they were getting divorced. She fell in love with Kanye and she was like, I should have done this sooner. How did I not think about this? But Kanye did not sign up to be on reality TV. So Kim and Kanye's wedding, their wedding was a lot more private. Everybody got free hotels, free limos. If you went to their wedding, it was like handcrafted. It was just a very bougie wedding. And Kim decided to just keep certain aspects of her life more private with that relationship because that's what Kanye wanted. And that relationship, unfortunately, fell apart and now they are divorced. But they did have 4 kids, North, Saint, Chicago, and Sam. And if you watch the Kardashians now on Hulu, Kim is a single mom. But her relationship with Kanye was a huge part of building her empire because Kanye got her on certain carpets. Kanye brought her to certain places. Kanye escalated her fame in different ways, but she was also building her own empire and her own show, and they were getting season after season after season. They were in 150 countries. It was the highest rated reality show in the world for years. They did 20 seasons, multiple spin-off shows. Kim brought her sisters up with her, Khloe and Kourtney, who both had compelling storylines and compelling lives. Khloe had Lamar. That was a huge spectacle. Khloe changed the industry in a lot of ways. She was body positive. She was the funny sister. She overcame a lot of obstacles. The Tristan cheating scandal. Kourtney had a toxic relationship with Scott. She was a different type of sister. She ended up, marrying Travis Barker, someone she was friends with before. Every sister had something you can relate to, and they were building their fashion empire, and they were building their store Dash and their collection with Sears. And the 3 sisters were so relatable to everyone who watched and all the demographic of women because they could see themselves in at least one of the sisters. Kendall and Kylie started the show so young, they didn't really know what was going on. It was normal to them. But Kim, Kourtney, and Khloe all took on stardom of their own and built their own careers, and they did a lot together. Kim was always the face. Kim was always the star. Kris managed all of them. She helped build all their careers, but it was Kim's vision. It was Kris's vision. It was Kim's vision. They became a global phenomenon, the Kardashians. Crazy. And it's a really good show. It's still on Hulu, but I mean, definitely if you guys have never went back to watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians, watch it. One of the other main topics of this doc was Caitlyn Jenner, from Bruce to Caitlyn. They explored that a lot in this doc about how Kris knew that there was maybe a little bit of a fetish where Bruce liked to cross-dress some at times, but Kris did not know to this extent. And Kris found out from one of the executives on E! Because the executives were talking about how they wanted to tell Bruce's story to Caitlyn's story, and Caitlyn was maybe shopping around different networks, but Caitlyn didn't tell Kris because it was the hardest conversation for Caitlyn to have because Kris said, because you lied to me the longest. Kylie was very supportive of Caitlyn. The whole family was just shocked. It was just a lot to process. But it really all worked out for Caitlyn, and she looks beautiful, and I'm so happy she's living her truth. But she did lie to Kris in a lot of ways, and Kris felt betrayed. It's not that they never accepted Caitlyn. They just felt lied to, mostly Kris, especially how she found out. Caitlyn was in this doc being a main narrator of the story. The 3rd episode of the doc was all about Kylie. Kris and Kylie were always really close, and Kylie and Kendall were always compared a lot as kids. Kendall was getting star quality a little bit earlier as a model and who was doing fashion stuff, and Kylie felt overlooked as the younger child. but she was always very creative, and it was so interesting having one of her old high school friends in the doc talking about her experience growing up with Kylie. She was very social as a kid. She always had people around her, and she always wanted to do something for herself. She always had her own agenda and her own plans, but it just was never her time. Eventually, it was her time because she started posting videos on, I guess, something called Keek, which might have been something before Vine, and she just captivated younger audiences with her sense of humor, her funny videos. Jordan Woods was in a lot of these videos when she was a teenager. She had really thin lips. She eventually got them done, but she didn't want to tell anybody because they were so critical of her before she was even 18. And this sparked a whole controversy about her lips. And then people started doing the Kylie Jenner lip challenge where they would put a glass and blow up their lips. And then she eventually decided to launch Kylie Cosmetics by the time she was 18. Kris was behind all the business side of it, and Kylie was behind the creation. And she had the social media following. She sold out in 2 minutes and made millions of dollars. And this created the conversation. Was Kylie Jenner, is she the youngest self-made billionaire at 21 years old? Because look what she just did. And she did figure it out for herself. It was the third phase of this Kardashian fame, because Kylie figured out things that Kris and Kim never could with social media and getting that younger audience. But would Kylie have been able to get there without Kim's impact and Kris's? No, she wouldn't have. That's why there was a huge conversation about the Kylie Jenner self-made. Is she really self-made? And I actually did my senior media seminar project on it in college, and I won best in the class. You guys could totally watch that. I think it's like, if you go to my oldest YouTube videos, oh my God, I'm gonna have to post it. I have it on private. Like, it's so bad, but it was one of my first videos I did when I started doing entertainment news. This doc was so good. I also talked about like Rob and Black China and like that whole relationship, and how Rob did not want to ever be on camera, and how it was just not his thing. And now we don't see Rob on TV anymore. And it really did not talk a lot about Kourtney and Khloé at all. They were barely mentioned in it. It truly was like all this other stuff. It was crazy. It was such a good doc. Let me know if you guys watched it in the comments below. There's honestly so much more to say about it. You just have to watch it if you can, but if not, I hope this recap gave you all of the insight and all of the tea. Let me know your thoughts on House of Kardashians on Peacock in the comments down below. And before you head out of here, do not forget to give this video a big thumbs up and hit subscribe and ring the bell so you're always notified whenever I post new videos. See you guys in the next one.